Hey there, I'm Brandon, and this is the Dirt Church Devotional. And today is New Year's Eve. That means we turn the calendar at midnight. It goes from 2024 to 2025, and pretty exciting. And you know what most of us do the end of the year? I do it, I'm sure you do it. We look back over the year. We look at how the one is ending and look forward to or think about how the new one's going to begin and how things might be different, what we might be doing different. Well, in my devotions this morning, I was reading in the end of the Old Testament, how the old ended. It ended with Malachi. And in Malachi, in chapter 3, it's interesting because the Lord says something there. He says, look, will a man rob God? And yet you rob me. He says, and yet you ask, how are we robbing God? He says, you're robbing me with your tithes and your offerings. He says, bring the full tithe into my storehouse. It's interesting. It's not that they weren't tithing. It's that they weren't bringing the whole tithe. They were bringing a part of it in, not the whole thing. And this was displeasing to God. And you know what? Not so much about being displeasing to God, but it was not beneficial to the people. He says, bring the full tithe in and test me in this and see if I won't throw open the floodgates of heaven. And I will pour out more blessing than you can hold, and I will keep your vines from throwing their fruit, and I'll keep, famines from happening, blah, blah, blah. But bring in the whole tithe. And I remember listening to a pastor friend of mine talk about tithing and talking about a conversation he had with somebody else. And this individual said, you know what, I've been working on tithing, and it's just not working for me. He says, I started out with 2%, I moved up to 5%, I'm up to 6% now, and still nothing. And my friend looked at him and said, well, you're just 4% away from a blessing. The guy hadn't realized the blessing because he hadn't given the full thing. Now, am I really worried about finances? Is God really worried about finances? No. In Psalms, God says, look, if I was hungry, I wouldn't ask you. I wouldn't tell you, because the earth is mine and everything in it. God doesn't need your money. God doesn't need your stuff. But you know what he wants? He wants you. And he doesn't want just a part of you. He wants all of you. All right, so don't look at Malachi 3 and think it's just about God wanting your money or the church wanting your money. It's not. God is saying, you know what? Up till now, you haven't given me all of you. You've seen some of the blessings, you've seen a little bit, but you're not giving me all of you. And I want all of you. And if you'll give me all of you, I'll give you all of me. That's a great exchange. Now, as we go into 2025, as you're thinking about resolutions, you're thinking about things you're going to do different this year, let me challenge you. In 2025, give God all of you. You know what else it says? Where your treasure is, there your heart is. If you make God your treasure, your heart will be there. You will be blessed beyond measure, and 2025 can be your best year ever. Chew on that. We'll talk to you next time.